Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon. Please indicate in the chat box or the question box if you can hear us clearly. Again, let us know if you can hear us. Okay, we can hear clearly. Okay, great. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Today, we'll be focusing on suspicious transaction reports, red flag indicators within the legal practitioners sector. My name is Jalifa Robinson-Garin, and with me is Senior Analyst Mr. Nikolai Green. So I would turn over the mic to Mr. Green so he can start the presentation.
Thank you very much, Jalifa. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once more to our presentation today, which will be touching on these general areas: the functions and powers of the FIA, AIU, the Financial Investigation Agency, in particular the Analysis and Investigation Unit of the agency, statistics on the legal practitioner sector, risks of legal practitioners, methods of filing a suspicious transaction report, red flag indicators, trends, as well as what is a suspicious report, effective STR writing, and we will conclude with a case study. The functions and powers of the FIA. The FIA is one of the key competent authorities in the territory of the Virgin Islands with responsibility for the prevention and detection of financial crimes, including money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing. The FIA is the agency that fulfills PATEP Recommendation 29, which mandates countries to establish a financial intelligence unit. The AIU is the unit of the FIA that receives all suspicious transaction reports filed by reporting entities. This unit is responsible for conducting the analysis of these suspicious reports, intelligence gathering, and making disseminations to relevant agencies, including the Financial Crimes Unit of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, as well as foreign financial intelligence units. The AIU also processes mutual legal assistance requests when asked by the Attorney General. Some statistics on the reports received from the legal practitioner sector. On your screen, we have the years 2022 to 2024. As you can see, the number of reports received from this sector are on the low end. In 2022, we only received 13 reports. 2023, we improved to 21. And for 2024, we received a total of 35 reports. In relative terms, we can see that in the earlier year, 2022, we only received 12% of reports. 12% of the reports were received from the sector on a whole. That number was increased to 23% in 2023, and in 2024, it went up to 39%. So the percentages of filers are increasing, and we're happy to see that, definitely. However, 39% is still less than half of the sector. So there is definitely room for improvement. And there are approximately 50 registered legal practitioners in the jurisdiction. Risks of the legal practitioners sector. The legal practitioner sector is the largest DNFBP sector within the Virgin Islands in terms of the number of firms in operation. As I stated before, there are approximately 50 reporting entities in this sector. The majority of legal practitioners tend to provide legal advice primarily on elements of transactions specifically related to laws of the Virgin Islands. Such legal advice would be in relation to larger transactions which are undertaken elsewhere, and in many instances, the Virgin Islands advice forms only a small part of the overall transactions. Often the Virgin Islands legal practitioner is not involved in the transaction itself. Hence, the risk exposure to the jurisdiction would be limited. But the following areas were evaluated and given the scores as indicated above. For medium and low risk, the sector's characteristics as well as delivery channels were rated in that category. However, the areas of products and services, nature of clientele, geographic risk, and susceptibility to abuse were rated as medium high. It was concluded that the legal practitioner sector has an overall medium high risk exposure and has been attributed to the following. The legal practitioners group is the largest DNFBP sector within the territory, with a client base that is primarily based outside of the Virgin Islands. As the majority of firms do not undertake transactional work themselves directly, this reduces the level of ML risk that they may be exposed to. However, given the nature of the work being undertaken, there is susceptibility to abuse. Further, a significant amount of business is conducted through non-face-to-face contact. Firms have internal control systems in place for the purposes of AML safety, which is assessed and tested by the supervisor. While 62% of the sector has indicated that persons within their firms have received relevant training, the level of training provided within the sector could be improved, especially given the legal practitioners sector's overall susceptibility to abuse. Now, we'll be touching on the methods to file a suspicious report to the agency. There are currently two methods in filing a report to the FIA, namely email submissions or through our online portal. The process of submitting a report using the reporting authority email address requires visiting the FIA website and downloading the STR form. This can be found under the Analysis and Investigation tab and selecting the Documents and Forms link. Upon successful completion of the form, it must be emailed to reportingauthority@fiabvi.bg. Our other method is the AM Live online e-filing portal. This method requires users to register by following the link above. And once the form has been submitted, please allow some time for your application to be reviewed by the agency, typically in 2 to 3 business days. If you have questions regarding the registration process, you may send an email to amlive-support@fiabvi.bg as indicated on your screen. Right now, I will hand over to Mrs. Garin, who will take you through the remainder of the presentation, starting with the red flag indicators.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Hi, everyone. We are now going to go into the red flag indicators and trends that we have identified in this sector. So we have our red flag indicators. Starting with number 1, a client approached a law firm to create a complicated ownership structure with no clear legitimate or economic purpose. This can suggest efforts to obscure beneficial ownership, evade taxes, or facilitate illicit financial activities. They also may be seeking these services after adverse media or even charges. This may also indicate an attempt to conceal assets or distance themselves from legal or financial scrutiny. And next red flag indicator, this one is a key red flag indicator to watch out for. It's when a client is overly secretive or evasive, especially about who really owns the business. They avoid naming the actual owner or delay providing details. Where the money is coming from, they can't explain the source of funds clearly or give inconsistent answers. That's a red flag. Fake documents, they provide alter or suspicious records. This kind of behavior could be a sign of money laundering or other illegal activities. So it is important to dig deeper and report if necessary. Lastly, clients' business activities don't match their financial transactions. This includes unusual money movement, large or frequent transfers that don't fit the nature of their business, of funds being sent to or received from regions linked to terrorist organizations or sanctioned countries. These are some red flag indicators, and more can be found in Schedule 3 of the AML Code of Practice or on the FIA website. Now we have some trends that we have identified in the legal practitioner sector, which is a bit concerning. We want to raise awareness about a recent fraud trend identified in this sector. These individuals are approaching law firms and coming under the guise of seeking legal services. For example, the AIU has received reports from legal practitioners regarding Ms. Lily NG, who falsely claims to be a director of Delta Electronics Inc. She has used forged documents in an attempt to deceive legal professionals, sorry, into facilitating a fraudulent transaction with a local construction company. Fortunately for everyone, the practitioners identified red flags and terminated their engagement with her. This case has been escalated to the relevant authorities for further investigation. This case is concerning, and we want to highlight key warning signs to help prevent similar incidents as this is within the public's interest. Some key warning signs. Ms. Lily NG provided forged documents, a doctor register of directors, falsified letter of intent, and even altered KYC documents. She used a fake email domain. The subject used an email address that appeared legitimate, but it was actually fraudulent. She was pressured. She pressured practitioners regarding banking details and sought to receive a portions of the funds. She provided a false identity. There were no public record of Lily NG being linked to Delta Electronics Australia, and the provided ID did not match the legitimate directors of Delta Electronics. Legal professionals are urged to exercise extreme caution when handling similar cases. Verify identities and agreements for both parties if in doubt. Scrutinize documents and be alert for red flags to avoid falling victim to fraudulent schemes. Also, Mr. Dustin Metcalf he did similar activities where he approaches more than one law firm with a fraudulent loan agreement. Now we'll move on to what is a suspicious transaction report. I think it's a bit of a feedback with the slides, so please bear with us. What is an SDR? An SDR is filed when there are reasonable grounds to suspect that a transaction involves illegal funds or when a customer behavior seems suspicious. The goal is to detect and prevent money laundering and other financial activities. A report that is not an SDR, it lacks the reasonable grounds for suspicion of money laundering, terrorist financing, or proliferation financing. They do not provide actionable information. So now we have effective SDR writing. And now what I will do, I will try to share a video that we have about effective SDR writing. And please let me know in the chat box if the video is working on your end.
Meet Phil, a compliance officer tasked with writing a suspicious transaction report, or STR, to the Financial Intelligence Unit. But he's stuck. Why? Because writing an effective STR requires more than just listing transactions. Phil needs to understand the 5 Ws and how, essential elements for a clear and concise STR. Who? Identify the subject. Who is involved in the transaction? What? Describe the activity. What triggered the suspicion? When? Specify the timeline. When did it occur? Where? Include locations. Where did the activity take place? Why? Explain the rationale. Why is it suspicious? How? Detail the method. How was the activity carried out? By following the 5 Ws and how, Phil has transformed his STR into a comprehensive, actionable report that will support the FIU in their investigations. Effective STR writing starts with asking the right questions. Be like Phil. Deliver clear, complete, and impactful reports.
Okay, wonderful. I'm glad that you guys were able to see that video. So we will now move on. Okay, so we will now have a case study. Just to recap on what we have discussed so far and put our knowledge to the test. So this case study reads, a law firm is approached by an individual claiming to represent a multinational company, seeking legal assistance in drafting a complex corporate restructuring agreement. The transaction involves transferring assets between multiple entities in offshore jurisdictions such as Luxembourg, BVI, and Gibraltar. The client presents official-looking company documents and insists that all communication be handled exclusively through them and nobody else, with no direct involvement from any other company representatives. The transaction is urgent and the client pressures the firm to expedite the process. Based on this scenario, in the question box below, please state the red flag indicators and the next steps. Sorry, not in the question box below. I have a poll. I will now launch this poll to indicate what are the red flag indicators. So based on the scenario, what are the red flag indicators? Please choose the correct answer. Okay, great. So everyone choose the correct answer, which is secretive. The red flag indicators are he is being overly secretive or evasive. He may have false documents, complex transactions, and he's pressuring the law firm to conduct this transaction urgently. In the next poll, we're going to identify what would be the next steps based on this transaction or this scenario. What should be the next steps? As an MLRO, what should we do or a law firm? Are we second guessing? So correct, everyone is correct. The correct answer is B. You first we need to conduct enhanced customer due diligence, verification, investigate, and then file a SAR with the FIA or FIU. Because the red flag indicators would be the person is being overly secretive, no direct access to the company representative. If this is a legitimate transaction, then why only one person from the company has to be involved? He's pressuring the law firm to get it done quickly. Why is he such in a haste? He has complex corporate structure. Sorry. It's an unclear ownership and assets and transfer of assets across multiple entities. And then he has fabricated documentation. So those are some red flag indicators, and I'm happy that everyone chose the correct answer. So we learned something today. The next steps would be to conduct enhanced due diligence, verify the company's existence, beneficial ownership, and financial legitimacy. Authenticate corporate documents with the relevant registries. Sorry, direct client contact. Please try to reach out to somebody else in the company to verify that this is actually legit. Scrutinize the transaction legitimacy and commercial purpose. Then after thorough investigations, you can either decline the engagement, which you probably should, decline the engagement with the subject, and also to file a suspicious transaction report with the FIA. Okay, sorry that you couldn't see my screen just now, but that's just basically what I was sharing. And we have now reached the end of our presentation, and we will open the chat box for any questions that you guys may have for us. If there are any questions, you can let us know in the chat box below. And we do plan to do more of these outreach presentations in the near future. Is there any questions? Someone asked, please advise if certificates of attendance and slides shall be provided. Yes, the presentation will be uploaded to our social media platforms. You should receive a link to the recording. And also, we are working on getting certificates. Is there any more questions? There also should be a post questionnaire survey that will go out, so you can let us know your feedback. Is there anything that we did not touch on that you would like to see or to hear from us? Please let us know. Just waiting a few minutes for any questions. Thank you everyone for joining us today. This was a short presentation. Yes, someone said, thank you, Kylie, for a short and insightful presentation. Look forward to receiving the presentation slides. Thank you very much for your feedback, and that's no problem. We would provide presentation slides. Okay, so if there's no questions, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to listen to us for a brief moment, and we will provide further engagement going forward. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.